Razaban for FightHype.com. Finally, I get him. David Higgins, how are we?
I'm good, thank you.
Dave, obviously I've been pestering you for a week now or so to get in front of you, and the press conference gets nearby, gets closer and closer. We scheduled to meet obviously a couple of days ago, but I think it was best we met today once the fight was announced. Glad it's over the line?
Yeah, we're delighted after several months of strategy and negotiation and executing that strategy that it's paid off, and we're part of a historic intercontinental global heavyweight unification bout that will go down in history, so it's exciting.
Dave, obviously let's just go rewind back to your early days with Joseph. Kind of what did you see in him to kind of say, you know what, I want to promote and manage this individual?
I think when I first, in New Zealand, boxing's not as big as it is in other parts of the world, and there's no government funding, and there isn't as much talent. There isn't a lot of talent around. So the first thing we saw was that he was a boxer who was available and looking to turn pro, and so that counted for something because there weren't many options if you look at heavyweights. And then when we met him, we thought that he was actually a nice guy, an intelligent guy. And humble. There's that word humble's overused. It's one of my words that annoy me sometimes, because being humble and pretending to be humble, they're very different things. You get a lot of professional athletes who've mastered the art of pretending to be humble, but underneath it is the towering ego and vanity about Joseph's genuinely what you see is what you get. He'll treat everyone the same, whether it be the cleaner or the CEO, everyone will be treated the same. So he's got good character. And we outlined a plan, a vision to him that we wanted to work with a young guy who was willing to cooperate and listen and apply himself. And the goal was to try win the heavyweight world title. And we said to him that we would invest heavily, no expense spared, in training, branding, media, publicity, take risk, throw everything at it, fight as often as possible, 4 or 5 times a year, and all we wanted him to do was to cooperate and give it his best shot. And here we are. At first it seemed impossible to come from New Zealand, a tiny country, and try win that world title, but halfway along we suddenly find ourselves in the top 10 and we think this is working. So we just kept that foot on the accelerator, got that eliminated against Ruiz, only just got over Ruiz, won the world title, defended it against Fury, and now foot on the accelerator again. Why not unify now? A lot of it's hurt boxing, I think, a lot of champions milking the title and not stepping up to the big risky fights. We reckon there's more dignity to try and unify and fail doing so than to sit on that belt for a year or two. And so we went hell-bent to try unify as quick as possible. That saying, talk is cheap. I think credit to Joshua and Hearn. They're showing that they're not all talk. They're putting their money where their mouth is. And so it's exciting, I think, for the world and for the fans.
But how hard was it, obviously, coming from a country like New Zealand, which is not known for boxing, more rugby, maybe cricket, but to be where you are today, for the success that you've had until date, what kind of obstacles came in your way through that process?
Look, like I said, boxing's not funded by government in New Zealand. It's very difficult to get sponsorship money, and you're in a time zone that's away from major markets like the United States and Europe, and so you really have to hustle. Like we did this the hard way. We weren't coming off an Olympic gold medal win like Joshua, off high performance sport institutes. We weren't funded by Matchroom or Sky Sport UK. The opposite. We did this thing on the smell of an oily rag and hustled and we scrapped from the ground up. And I think that gives Joseph an advantage because in my view, Joshua has had a softer ride than Joseph Parker, and by that I mean coming through that English Olympic system, probably had better funding, training and opportunity, then turning pro with the juggernaut powerhouse of Sky Sport Matchroom behind you, and then in a media environment where in most sports and in most countries it's normal to analyse the strengths and weaknesses of an opponent, be it tennis, football, and talk openly about strengths and weaknesses. Strangely though, Joshua's suspect chin was never really openly debated. It was almost taboo to mention it. And I think a lot of people were shocked when we discussed openly the fact that Joshua was getting dropped quite often, at least half a dozen times we're aware of. And that evidence exists on YouTube for anyone who wants to search it. It's not disrespect, it's not trash talk. Fact, getting dropped. So his chin is questionable. And I got some death threats on social media from Joshua fans, and it's ridiculous. It's just a sporting event, and we're just analysing the weaknesses of the opponent. Then you were Joshua saying Parker's trying to demonise me. What does he mean? Demonise? Parker doesn't have a voodoo doll of him sticking needles in it. What Parker did was state fact. The guy's been dropped quite a few times, and that's a weakness. And so I think Joshua was displaying mental weakness, like going on about being demonised and so forth. That showed that Joseph and perhaps the tactics were getting under Joshua's skin a bit. And that I think is another advantage that Joseph Parker has. So I think he's got a better chin. He's mentally tougher, Joseph will be very relaxed. If a boxer trash talks Parker, he'll laugh. And you saw fury at the weigh-in when he was getting up in Joseph's face. Joseph's just smiling. There's not even a raise in his blood pressure whatsoever. So I think tomorrow at the press conference will be fascinating, especially when they stare each other down, because I know for a fact that Joseph Parker won't flinch, and I'd say that Joshua will have those butterflies in his stomach. And when he's in the fight, he might have that little voice in his head reminding him that, this guy's never been dropped. And whether that's playing on his mind or not, we shall see.